There is a circulating idea that an elegant photo would show Josephine, wife of Wyatt Earp. It became the cover of Glenn Boyer's book, I Married Wyatt Earp, in 1976. Boyer claimed it was from 1880, but the engraving is from 1914 and was registered as 𝗽𝗫cie. The error stuck to the cover and from then on multiplied mistaken attributions and still confuses readers today. Tom Horn was a scout in the Apache Wars, a roping champion, and a Pinkerton agent before becoming a cattle detective in Wyoming. In 1901, he ended up arrested for the shot that killed 14-year-old Willie Nickel, possibly mistaken for his father, Kells. In Cheyenne, 1903, he awaited hanging while braiding horsehair riatas, a scene recorded by W.G. Walker. In 1864, at 17, Jesse James and his brother Frank joined the Confederate guerrilla in Missouri, ambushing Union troops. Peace brought no truce. In the post-war, he became a famous outlaw. The end came early. On April 3, 1882, inside his home, he was betrayed by Robert Ford, a man from his own gang, and killed with a shot to the back of the head. This cabinet card came from a photo taken in Nebraska City around 1875. Years later, with Jesse's assassination, the Taylor's Copying Company of St. Louis began producing and spreading copies on a large scale. It catered to popular curiosity and the profitable business of reproductions. The card became both a keepsake and a vestige of an era. In 1848, Myra Maybelle Shirley was born, whom the West named Belle Starr. Among the younger gang, she joined Jim Reed and later Sam Starr. In 1886, she posed with Deputy Marshal Benjamin Tyner Hughes. Arrested at Younger's Bend and taken to Fort Smith for robbery, she was acquitted. Everything changed when Sam died on December 17th. I'll leave a secret bonus in the pinned comment for those who love the Old West. Don't miss it. It's for a limited time. Calamity Jane became famous for her buckskins, but Martha Canary wore dresses like other frontier women. The image that remained came from an 1895 card by Henry Locke and Charles Peterson in Deadwood. She claimed to be an Army scout, most likely a camp follower. She tied her name to the myth of Wild Bill Hickok and was buried beside him. This portrait of William F. Buffalo Bill Cody from the early 1870s captures the period when he was serving as a scout for the U.S. Army and as a buffalo hunter on the Great Plains. It marks the moment when his notoriety on the frontier was consolidating, a prelude to the shows that would later shape his persona and the myth of the Old West. July 1882, Arizona Territory. Johnny Ringo was found dead near Tombstone, a gunshot to the head, pistol fallen by his side. Was it suicide or a settling of accounts? Records and reports are divided. Wyatt Earp and buckskin Frank Leslie claimed it was them, but nothing proves it. The doubt persists and keeps the case alive to this day, unanswered. Henry Starr, outlaw, left prison and became the star of A Debtor to the Law, 1919, where he reenacted bank robberies. A distant relative of Sam, Belle Starr's husband, he had earned Theodore Roosevelt's pardon after helping disarm Cherokee Bill. After the film, he returned to crime and fell during a robbery in 1921 in Oklahoma. A photo kept by the family shows Seth Bullock, first sheriff of Deadwood. In 1876, he and his partner Saul Starr arrived in the gold rush town to open a hardware store. The day after their arrival, Wild Bill Hickok was killed by Jack McCall. The shock became a turning point. Bullock assumed order and transformed the camp into a place of law. Before becoming famous for capturing Bill Doolin alone in 1895, Bill Tillman lived another story. In 1883 in Kansas, he was part of the authorities who faced the so-called Dodge City War. The tension revolved around politics and public order. In the end, calm negotiation prevailed. The standoff ended without a shot, without deaths. Richard Little Dick West, who passed through the gangs of Bill Doolin and Al Jennings, alternated between bank and train robberies in the Oklahoma Territory. He became a fugitive, and the trail gave him away. A posse of deputies pursued him. On April 13, 1898, near Guthrie, Bill Tillman and 𝗽𝗵cie𝘁cie led the siege that ended his criminal career. A Texan born in 1853, John King Fisher started as a cowboy. Arrested for horse theft, he served little time and returned to the range armed. In the 1870s, he gathered a band on the border and, calling himself a ranger, hunted groups coming from Mexico. He claimed to act in response to incursions, and his relentless justice made him a feared name in the West. In 1885, in William Notman's studio in Montreal, Sitting Bull posed beside Buffalo Bill Cody. Months later, he agreed to join Buffalo Bill's Wild West for 4 months. The photos became show promotion and sealed a rare crossover: indigenous leadership on the stage of the entertainment industry, an encounter that echoed beyond the studio. At 12 years old, in the Arizona Territory, Felix Tellez was taken by Apaches. He grew up among them, fought as a warrior, and later served as a scout for the U.S. Army, earning the nickname 𝗽𝗵cie𝘁cie𝘁. He continued living as an Apache on the White Mountain Reservation until 1914. The 1888 photo is attributed to Daniel F. Mitchell and Irwin Baer of Prescott. In 1903, a camp near Phoenix housed lungers, tuberculosis patients who set up tents in search of Arizona's arid climate, recommended as a cure. Daily life was simple: rest, sun, and dry air. With no effective therapies, caravans headed into the desert. Health migration reshaped the region. Hospitals were rare. Tents became both shelter and hope. In this 1860 photo, clockwise from the top left corner, are Billy Richardson, Johnny Fry, Gus Cliff, and Charlie Cliff. Members of the Pony Express, a private horseback mail service between Missouri and California, they symbolize the beginning of the West's fast routes when delivery gained speed and kept the country connected. In 1889, Manor in Travis County was establishing itself as a modest agricultural hub in central Texas. Simple commercial streets and few services sustained the surrounding farms. The following year, official records listed 405 residents, a portrait of stability and connection with regional supply routes. Around 1888, 𝗽𝗵cie𝘁cie𝘁cie appears alongside his wives, 𝗽𝗫𝗍 and 𝗽𝗫𝗍. Kidnapped in childhood, he became an interpreter and Apache scout for the U.S. Army, serving in campaigns in Arizona. The scene reveals family alliances through Apache customs amid tensions on the Arizona and New Mexico frontiers, a portrait of survival. Around 1890, a carriage stops in front of the Beaumont Hotel in Ouray, Colorado. There, travelers and mining merchants crossed paths. Wooden facades and the dirt street reveal a town taking shape. Among guests and workers, the hotel stood as a pivot of local wealth and a hub of the routes that connected the region at the century's end. Known as the Poet Scout, Captain Jack Crawford gained fame in the West as a U.S. Army scout in conflicts with indigenous peoples. Later, he brought stories to stages and schools, published poems and travel accounts, and defended civic education. By blending memory and celebration of the frontier, he shaped the idea of the West in popular imagination. Portrait from 1881. In 1845, French gunsmith Louis-Nicolas Flaubert created the first single-piece cartridge. The metallic casing combined primer, powder, and projectile, simplifying the shot. This milestone retired the separate use of components. From then on, what the public calls a bullet became the standard and accelerated the shift from loose loading to standardized ammunition. In the photo, it reads Arizona Rangers, but the details tell another story. Low crown hats, short jackets, and cartridge belts typical of the 1870s, 1880s. Everything points to the late 1870s or early 1880s, when Arizona was still a territory. The official Arizona Rangers would only be created in 1901. The question remains, who then were these men? In the post-Civil War era, The James Younger gang gained ground in Missouri and surrounding areas. Led by Jesse and Frank James alongside the Younger brothers, they shifted from the scars of conflict to bank and train robberies. The press made noise, Pinkerton tightened the net, and their notoriety exploded until it collapsed in the failed Northfield raid in 1876, Minnesota. Around 1900, in Beaumont, Jefferson County, the grocery on Pear Street operated under the direction of Melton Bowie. Considered one of the first black entrepreneurs, he energized local commerce. Documents highlight his carpentry skills, a prestige that opened doors on multiple fronts. His story still echoes in the city. In Deadwood, Dakota Territory, the camp grew quickly. Muddy streets, tents, and saloons in a row, the clatter of pans in the creek, and rifle guards. Around 1876, Wild Bill Hickok arrived. The gold rush drew migrants, merchants, and gamblers, while law, fragile, depended on local committees. We see Harry Yount, the mountain man, on the summit of Berthoud Pass in the Colorado Rockies around 1874. At that time, he lived by hunting and guiding. Years later, he would be recognized as the first Yellowstone Ranger. The scene marks the transition from solitary exploration to official protection of the parks, which would soon change the American West.